So we're gonna do the
There we go. Okay.
okay, recording in progress. Woohoo!
Always a
I
voice.
like when she comes on. She's got that like really. Hi, I'm Siri. I'm Siri's sister. Sue me. By the way, your recording is in progress.
Don't ask me any questions.
You have stopped recording.
Don't ask me any life questions though, because all
Right.
the questions you ask Siri, I cannot answer. I can just tell you
That's
whether
correct.
you're recording or not.
I do not respond to questions. I just turn your recorder on and off. That's all I'm allowed to do in Zoom. I'm a little jealous of my sister, Siri, and Alexa, because they get to do things. They get to answer questions, and I don't. So I'm a little pissed off. But your recording has started.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of Marvel at the Movies, and I'm Kyle, and this is Doug over here. How you doing?
Doing really well tonight, Kyle. I am so much looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a little bit different than we usually do, but really looking forward to it and doing well. And we just heard Zumi, Siri and Alexa's sister, on telling us that it is being recorded. So we're good.
Yeah, just a classic Zoom trope of just letting us know what's going on there. So
You got it. That's right.
And I'll hand over to Doug really quick for our show sponsor. So take it away for.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. Our sponsor for this episode of Marvel at the Movies is Zyman Organizing. Feeling overwhelmed with a room, cabinet, drawer, closet, something like that, room that you need to be organized? Contact Zyman Organizing. They will work with you to create and organize the space that you want, whether it's a drawer, like I said, a drawer, room, drawer, room, something like that. And what it'll do is that they will work with you to make your room just a joy to be in and organized, disorganized, free. Just remember Zyman Organizing, creating a stress-free home.
Cool. All right. And so yeah, we definitely have a lot of stuff to go over this episode. We were gonna get into our favorite theme song. So this can actually be theme songs from superhero movies or just movies in general. So we have a lot of reign, a lot of free reign to talk about, because movies, as we know, have so many different theme songs. There's so many different famous movie theme songs and scores out there that have been over the years. And but before we get into that, though, so Doug, I know you recently watched Loki, so I know you wanted to talk a little bit about that show and kind of what you thought so far, because you said you saw the first two episodes, right?
Yes, I did. I watched the first two episodes with my wife, and they were. I just kind of have one word for it, Kyle, and one word is crazy. It was just kind of wild. But the way we talked about it, even off air, it makes sense. It's kind of like an alternate ending, which kind of makes sense. Now, without giving too much away, and again, I've only watched 2 episodes. But I just thought, first of all, I thought it was really, really, really good. I didn't write a lot of notes down. I actually didn't write any notes down because in this particular situation, I just noticed that you really, really have to pay attention to the show itself, because if you blink or even 2 seconds or you turn your head, you're gonna miss something. and it's probably going to be important. So what I was trying to do was trying to watch the show, and if I have to take notes later, I will. But typically take notes so I can, kind of refer to them when we on Marvel at the movies. But um, it's one of those things where there's a lot going on in a fast way. So, but I thought it was really great. It's really great so far, just because there's a little bit of action, a little bit, and again, the situation. You've watched what I've watched, what my wife and I have watched up until now, um, and you kind of get an idea that this is an alternate kind of situation. Makes sense. But I mean, there was some. I mean, Loki's actually pretty funny, but it comes down to the fact that wait a minute, there's another Loki. There's two now. So it's really wild how they kind of put this together and how they make this ultimate kind of episode. So I think, and I wanted to know your opinion on it without telling me too much because again, I've only watched 2 episodes, but my favorite part so far, and we discussed this off air. My favorite part so far is the fact that all throughout the movies, every movie I saw, the Infinity Stones are like the most important thing. It like keeps these superheroes alive. And in a lot of cases, if you saw Iron Man, hello, Infinity Stone, right in his chest, right? Same thing with pretty much everyone else. So one of my favorite parts, and I'm just going to say it because I thought it was very, very funny, is that Loki is all of a sudden went into this room and he goes into this drawer and all of a sudden he goes, oh, Infinity Stones. All the Infinity Stones are in a drawer. I just thought that was, I didn't know what to think about that. All of a sudden I started laughing because I was like, these are like the most important stones like in the world of Marvel. And they're just sitting in a drawer. So I just thought it was really like super funny. How they it's like, oh, it's just sitting there. There you go. I just thought that was really, really funny. I think if I were to give anybody a thought on kind of what to do as you watch this, is just there's a lot going on. There are things that are going on every minute, every second. So really concentrate on watching. Have a period of time where you can actually sit and watch it without like a distraction. Because once you're distracted, if you turn your head, if you blink, if you go out of the room, you come back. As long as you pause it, I think you're okay. But if you don't, you can be like, wait a minute, what just happened? Why is this going on the way it's going on? So I thought that was the funniest part. I think so far it's really intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really intriguing to see what the next episodes are all about. But I think it's very, very well organized, although it's just crazy every minute. It's just like, what's going on here? What did you think of, at least give me what your thoughts are for the first 2 episodes, but again, don't give too much away because I haven't watched the whole thing, but what were your thoughts on it?
So I as a whole, I'll just say this without spoiling anything, I promise. I think Loki actually might be my favorite series out of all the Marvel ones that are out right now. I just like how they definitely took it in a very different direction, and I like how honestly there's not that much action in it. It's definitely more of a, it has a lot of visual, obviously. You're gonna get that
more of a story, right? More of a kind of a story than like total like fighting and action and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's what I obviously I did. I still enjoyed the other shows. Don't get me wrong, but I like how kind of out of the box this show felt. It really kind of like there's a lot of just unexpected things that happen, and because you're right, like you said, it's really going in a really interesting direction. And what I like about it is that you don't know what's going to happen, because this is not the same Loki that we knew from the movies. This is
Right.
a completely different. Well, I mean, it's because like you know what happens to that Loki and everything. You've seen his whole journey, from the beginning to the end. But
Right.
now that this Loki was basically plucked out of that timeline and just thrown into this whole new kind of like world, I like that whole kind of like mystery intrigue about what's going to happen next. Like you don't know is he going to make it? Is he going to die again? Like you don't know what's going to happen. Um and then as you watch the show, they they throw a lot of really interesting stuff, and especially when they talk about like variants, and they really kind of like you'll see what I mean. Like it's
Yeah, they've already started to talk about it. I think in the second one. They already started.
yeah, because they introduce the concept of what a variant is, and then
Right.
but then they really expand upon it as the series goes. And I really like it. I think it was very clever, and it sets up a whole new side of Marvel that you never really knew about, that you never really noticed, I guess. So, which I thought was really interesting too, because as you said, the in the original timeline, from Iron Man all the way to Endgame, they were so concerned about those stones. But then you jump to Loki, and these guys have completely different priorities. They're like, yeah, stones, whatever, yeah, whatever. you know?
I just thought it was hilarious, just because I know how important they were because of all the movies we saw.
yeah.
So before, so when you look at it, and you're looking at how important it is, and all of a sudden they're just in a drawer. It just makes it so like you're like, where did they come up with that concept? But I will tell you, the concept of, and again, we got this in the first two episodes, so I can talk about it.
hmm
The concept of Loki trying to get himself is really kind of a great concept if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you were trying to get, if Kyle was trying to get Kyle, wouldn't it be great to get Kyle from a different era? Because it's like, Kyle knows who Kyle is, even if it's different.
Yeah.
I mean, does that make sense? I mean, Loki knows how Loki acts, right? He kind of knows because he's Loki. So even if he's Loki evil Loki
Mhm.
or good Loki, he knows himself.
Mhm.
So the best way to try to find him and capture him, or find him and get him, would be him himself. It's
Mhm.
just it's again, this is what I'm talking about, crazy. But it's a great concept if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because he would know where he went, where he would go, how he would act.
Mhm.
Even if he was evil, he may have a few concepts about you know where he would hang out, or where he would go, or what. So it's a really great concept in that respect. So
Yeah.
we kind of got that part of it, but I can't wait to see where it goes.
Oh, you have no idea what you're in for, Todd.
I, 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 that's exactly what my daughter said. She said the same exact thing. She said, "You haven't even scratched the surface of
Yeah.
what this is." So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm definitely looking forward to watching the other episodes. Again, I've only watched two, so I don't want to delve too deep into it. I should have all of them finished by our next Marvel at the Movies episode, so I will sure to come on and give my opinion of what I think of the whole series itself. I like it so far because, again, you're absolutely right. It's totally different than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Totally different. It's a different way. I'm so used to Marvel. It's like, oh, it's the Marvel guys, and here we go, and we're gonna fight the bad guys, and here we go. so used to that, and this is a different concept movie. This is
Hmm.
a TV show, so a series. So this is totally different. I like it because it's, we're so conditioned to watching the movies
Yeah.
and seeing what happens. Oh, this is going to happen, and this is a bad guy, and then we're going to fight this bad guy, and
Hmm.
um, trying to figure that stuff out was really cool. But these series, even Wanda was like, where
Oh,
are they going with this?
hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um, Captain and Falcon, absolutely fabulous, and that kind of gives you more of a thought of kind of where things are going there. Like
Yeah.
they can make more movies or TV series
Yes.
from
Definitely.
that concept, which I think they're going to. My daughter said that they are.
Yeah.
Actually, they're coming. We have to finish it. I don't know when they're coming out with it, but there is a Loki 2, what I'm hearing. And I don't know if you know that, but and maybe I am
Yeah.
jumping the gun, but my daughter said that they are in the process of, I'm not sure if they're in production yet, but there
Yeah.
is some, not just rumors, it's more than a rumor right now from what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah. No, it's
So,
confirmed there'll be a second season. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, well, exactly. That's all my daughter would tell me too. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Um, but that's only, and maybe once I see it, I'll figure out that, oh yeah, that makes sense. They should make a second one so I can figure out what the first one's all about.
hmm.
But again, that's kind of what they do. So it totally makes sense. It's just really, really crazy right now.
Yeah.
But I
It's
like the other two TV series too. I mean, those were really good. Wanda was totally different, a totally different concept for me.
yeah.
It did have some fighting in it and stuff like that, but you kind of get the fact that Wanda is a super powerful, probably the most
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Like the way.
superhero that's out there when it comes to the Marvel. I
Hmm.
mean, you have Hulk who just goes, I smash, which is great. But, if you think about Wanda is not just smart. She has lots of different things that she can do. And she is, for
Hmm.
lack of a better phrase, super powerful.
Oh
So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah,
When you're dealing with magic too, because that's her forte there. So it's like
yeah,
even and they always said, I know, like even the character like Superman, who is one of the most powerful DC superheroes of all time, even he has a little trouble with magic. You don't magic is very unexpected. So when you're dealing with that,
correct.
and the fact that Wanda can have she has these like kind of crazy. She even has like Doctor Strange level powers, which is like whoa.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I say it's almost like she's got power from every single superhero that's out there. If
Pretty
you think
much. Yeah.
about it, she's got like all that kind of power, and more. So I just thought that series was just really funny how they kind of played off some of the old TV series, which by the way, I watched some of them. Not that I'm old, but in reruns. But yeah, Loki is so far it's pretty good, but it's
Mhm.
just a different concept. So I'm very excited about seeing the rest of it, seeing what kind of craziness, because it's
Yeah.
already been crazy. So I figure it's gonna
No.
be crazy.
It's a great series. I'm so happy that they're doing a second season. If there's any of those out of the three, I think series that are out right now, I think that's probably the most I think I definitely want a second season for, just because I think WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think they definitely closed it off pretty well. So it's like they didn't really like they may have set up for some other movies and stuff, but I think for those particular series they were able to kind of like end it in a pretty good way, whereas Loki, there's so much in that show going on that I think they need a second season just to kind of like really properly continue the series.
Properly explain what went on in the first series.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, which totally makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I just, I have become, obviously we're doing a podcast, but I have become a super Marvel fan. And just interesting so far. So I'm very excited about seeing the rest of it and seeing what comes.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
check that out.
it should be good. It should be good. And actually, really quick, I did want to drop just a quick. I won't spoil this either, but there is another series that's out too on Marvel, and it kind of takes a similar concept of what the Loki show is doing, and it's called Marvel's What If. So it's a bunch of standalone episodes that kind of like they dip into like the whole Marvel alternate timelines, and it's a very simple like, okay, what if this happened, and they go kind of like to all these moments throughout the Marvel movies, and they do things like, and they do crazy things. They really change it up quite a bit for all these episodes. And they do stuff. For example, I'll just give you a couple examples without
Sure.
giving much of the stories away.
Right.
um but basically, like, one was, what if Yondu, instead of picking up Chris Pratt's Star Lord, what if he picked up T'Challa? What if he picked up Black Panther? So you get to see Black Panther as Star Lord, which blows my mind, and I love that.
Just different concepts. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see kind of, because of that one change, how the episode plays out and how different it is from the events of the movie, and they really dive into that. Another example being, they even answer the question, what if Steve Rogers wasn't Captain America? What if he got injured even before he got to that machine that turned him into Captain America? And they said, all right, well, let's put Peggy Carter as Captain America. So they put her in, and she was this badass, like fighting, like just fighting Red Skull, and
Mm.
even stuff played out differently there. And a lot of stuff you think is going to happen, like in the movies, they actually subvert your expectations a lot, and in a very
Oh yeah,
clever
definitely.
way.
No, that's great. Those are great concepts, though.
Yeah, it's a fun series. I really recommend watching them, because I think it I don't know how much it's going to do with the movies later on, like like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, the one that's coming out later this year. But it's, you know what, it's just a fun series. Highly recommend it. It does get pretty dark at times, I will warn you. So just, if you're going to watch it with your kids, especially with your young kids, you might want to just make sure it's okay for just make sure that, yeah, there's some pretty dark thematic material in those episodes, including zombies being one of them. So yeah, they go there.
Of course. What doesn't these days? You have to have a zombie here and there, right?
Yeah.
And everything.
Oh, totally. Zombies are cool.
That makes sense. But yeah, no, those are great concepts, though. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that What If series. That should be cool.
Oh yeah, it's great. And the cool part about that series too is you have this actor, Jeffrey Wright, who has such a great narrating voice. Like, Jeffrey Wright, so he's been a character actor for a long time. He's been in a lot of movies. You'd recognize him if you saw him, but just, he always narrates all the episodes, and he kind of like, almost like a Twilight Zone kind of vibe. And it's just so cool just hearing his voice. Like, oh man, I love it.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Great concept. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, with that said, we were going to kind of go into talk about another great concept, which is the idea of movie themes and scores. And just Doug and I had I mean, there's so many, there's so much music in movies that, it's just, it's so, there's so much music out there in the movies that, a lot of memorable theme songs, a lot of really great scores that you hear in all these movies. And, we aside from the ones that we hear in superhero movies, I feel like you recognize a lot of those themes, like the Superman theme, the Spider-Man theme, even from the cartoons back then. Um, but we were kind of going to delve into that, and also not even just superheroes, but just we were thinking of just kind of even just expanding into movies in general too. So I was going to start off with you, Doug, if you had any movie themes or even scores that really stuck out to you, you know?
Yeah, I did make a little bit of a list, and some of these are kind of like my favorite movies anyway. But one of my favorite movie series, and that should give you a little hint of some of the some of the some of the scores I happen to be talking about. So I did make a little bit of a list of, um, and in some cases, excuse me, you know the theme if you heard it on radio or you heard it at a party. I actually did this. I've been doing bar and bat mitzvah parties for over 30 years, so there was and typically they're themed. So this was a kid who happened to love this particular movie series,
Mhm.
and he actually asked if we could find the music, the theme music, so he could come into it because he was actually going to be dressed as this particular character. And it was really themed in that way. So, and we found it because it was fine. And it was really cool. And that was Indiana Jones.
Oh wow.
He came in with the hat. He actually had a whip with him, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with like Indiana Jones, you know the basic themes of those movies. Those movies are fantastic, by the way. They are not only awesome, but you could tell you could absolutely tell what if you heard it on the radio or you were in the other room like washing the dishes in the kitchen. You were hearing the TV and you were on like TNT or TBS. Sometimes they show those. And you heard the theme, you're like, I know what that is. That's Indiana Jones. I know that. These are themes that are not only popular, but they also come from really, really great movies. The other one that's super popular that I put down, another one is Star Wars, of course.
Oh, yeah.
The Star Wars series. Even if, even out of the new movies, relatively newer movies, they still have that themed concept. Still has that Star Wars feel when it comes to music, which I really like a lot. The other ones would probably be Back to the Future, which is just a great series. Also, these are just just a few of my favorite themes. Sorry, had to. It was there. What I like is I grew up watching Superman. So the Superman movies, those were themes that I totally. That's definitely on my list as one of my one of my favorite themes. Just because it's so. I think I call it a favorite theme because it's very recognizable.
Yes.
And you recognize it, hear it on the radio again. If you hear it on the radio, you hear it from the other room, you can kind of tell what it is. Every once in a while, you kind of get confused. Like, wait a minute, is that Star Wars or Superman? Which one? Oh, okay, that's what it is. Yeah. Because it's not that it sounds the same. A lot of it was done by John Williams, and just fabulous themes. Some of the other themes that I really liked are, concepts like, these pump up movies, Rocky. I think maybe not theme as much as music attached to the Rocky movies. Obviously, Eye of the Tiger, the actual Rocky theme you would know in a heartbeat.
Bill Conti. I'm gonna play now. Yeah.
Bill Conti is huge. He did a lot of the '80s movies.
Yeah.
Just because he was, he's like the John Williams of action movies in some cases. Although Star Wars and Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all those other movies are action movies, but still, I think what it comes down to is that you know those are again recognizable themes, and those are pump up ones. Those are the ones that you like to listen to your car, like listen in your car when you're driving. You don't want to drive too fast. One of my favorite Rocky movies is actually, I believe it's Rocky 4. I think that's the one where he goes to Russia.
Yes.
It's not just because it's like Russian against U.S. And around that time, I think it was 85. Around that time, I think. It's kind of when the Cold War was going on.
Was it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was about 85. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely a Cold War era movie.
It was in the head. It was in the middle of the Cold War. It was always Russia against the United States, and the theme of the movie wasn't just Rocky. The theme of the movie is that everybody can change and everybody can we can all be friends, and our countries should get along. That kind of thing. He's draped in the flag, all this, Russia. I loved it because the music specifically in this movie was just so good. You guys have to go and check it out on either Spotify or go and grab it on iTunes or whatever. I just happen to love every single song in that movie. Some of the songs are and other Rocky movies are different, but this was really I just loved. It was not just pump up; it's good to work out to too, because he obviously there's a whole section. It's actually called the workout theme or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
But I like the concept of him like carrying logs, and supposedly the Russian guy was taking drugs and taking steroids and getting big that way. And Rocky's just putting logs on his shoulders and walking through deep snow. So I just think the concept is just so much better that way. The other one is the other one that I was thinking about is Rudy. I know it's a sports movie, but Rudy definitely has some just great music, great theme music attached to it.
Interesting. I've never actually heard of these theme songs.
Yeah, I just you can actually hear them. They're just I just like that. Hoosiers is another one that has some really, really great music attached to it. Again, very rare for you to for you to think about a sports movie having great themes. Watching the sport, you're not typically listening to the music that's attached to it. So, but I like those two movies also as kind of themed movies. I noticed Marvel has changed their theme a few times with some different stuff. Not really with the movies, but kind of with the TV series a little bit, if I remember correctly, because my wife was like, wait a minute, it's Marvel? It is Marvel because you could see it's Marvel, but the theme is different. We were like, wait, what's going on? So they kind of changed it around a little too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are some of mine. What are some of yours, Kyle?
So yeah, I completely agree. I'll start off with Superman because I am wearing the the appropriate shirt for this conversation. I
got to get me some Marvel gear, man.
No, seriously.
Don't have any yet. I'm working on it.
I know we're gonna have to rename the show DC at the movies, right?
Oh, really? Yeah, exactly.
Well, good thing I have an X-Men shirt, so I'll have to wear that next time. But anyways.
I don't have any of that stuff. I need to get something. I got the Marvel shirt in the background on the chair.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that's all the Marvel characters like in little miniatures.
Oh, that's what that is. Oh, I was wondering what kind of shirt that was. Okay, cool.
It's my wife's. It's not even mine. I have to get some swag, man. I have to get some swag.
Yeah. So going off on the Superman theme, you're right. I completely agree that to me that was so iconic. Especially as a kid. That was the first like real big epic movie score that I heard. And then, just like you as well, when I heard the Star Wars theme, I saw those movies growing up in the theaters when they re-released them actually in like the late '90s, and it was great hearing all those themes. And I actually, the funny thing was about that actually, and we can talk more about these. And we were talking about going into this type of episode later on, but the first time I heard the Star Wars theme, I believe was actually in the video game. They released the Super Nintendo version of Return of the Jedi, and they had a really good, like, kind of like 32-bit version of the Star Wars theme. It's not as epic as the orchestra or the original orchestral version that John Williams did, but you know what? For a Super Nintendo, it was pretty damn good. So,
right. No, that's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were two of the major themes that I grew up on as well. But I will say too that yeah, going to Marvel, they had some pretty interesting themes. Or actually, I should just say, going to Danny Elfman, he's had some very interesting themes because he's actually had his fair share of DC and Marvel movies that he's done. Not only has he done the famous Tim Burton Batman theme, which, I mean, I feel like that's one of, if not maybe even the most recognizable Batman theme out there. To the point where they even use that theme in the animated series as well, and also in the Lego Batman games. So that theme really kind of resonated throughout the years. But he also actually did the Spider-Man theme, the one for the Tobey Maguire movies, which I thought was very interesting. And what I liked about Danny Elfman's theme in those movies were he kind of brought out a more complex type of theme song. With the movies like Superman and the original Superman and Tim Burton Batman, they were more kind of like fanfare type theme songs, and they really got in your head, and you can really hum out all the themes. But it's interesting, the Spider-Man theme works on a whole different level. You can't really hum the Spider-Man theme, but when you listen to it, it's like a musical experience. It's wonderful. There you can really hear the complexity of the character actually in the song. That's what I love about that song, that particular theme song. And honestly, I don't think they've ever been able to replicate ever since in any of the Spider-Man movies. I think they really nailed it with Danny Elfman's version when he did the Tobey Maguire movies, personally. But
right,
but,
he's very talented. He's very, very talented. Elfman, super talented.
Yeah, and the funny thing about him is that he was he started off in this '80s band called, I think it was Oingo Boingo. I think that was his, right? Was that the name?
That is the name of an '80s band. Yes. They actually have a actually, check this out. Ready?
All right.
Oingo Boingo was from the '80s.
Uh-huh.
And since we're talking about movies, it was actually Oingo Boingo actually was in a movie and played one of their hits.
Oh.
Can you guess?
Nope. Unfortunately, but
no worries, no worries. I was just throwing it out there. It is a Rodney, and actually, this is even more connected. You ready?
Okay.
Even more connected than what we have.
Wow.
Iron Man was in the movie, but he didn't play Iron Man.
Huh. So Robert
Downey Jr. was in this particular movie that Oingo Boingo played in.
Uh-huh.
But obviously, at that time, he wasn't Iron Man, so he didn't play Iron Man.
Yeah.
But Robert Downey, that's the Marvel connection. Unbelievable that there's an actual Marvel connection to this, what we were just talking about.
That's so cool.
It's a movie with Rodney Dangerfield, Robert Downey Jr. It's called Back to School.
Oh my God. I think I actually saw part of that movie recently. I didn't even realize that was, wow.
Got to see it. Got to see it. It's hilarious. It's very, very funny. And actually, we were just talking about the Rocky theme. The
Yeah.
guy who drives the limo
Mhm.
is Rocky's brother-in-law.
No way. Oh, Polly.
Paulie.
Polly.
Paulie's in it. Plays a tough
Oh.
guy in it. You don't see him too often, but he's in there. So it's all coming full circle with this whole movie theme
Oh, I love it.
situation.
Love this. This is what we're all about.
One of Robert Downey Jr.'s first movies.
Wow. Back to School. Oh my goodness.
One of them. That's not the first one he ever did. But that's
No.
one of them.
I feel like that was kind of like in his early prime, like went back when he was kind of playing those
Mm.
type of roles there. So
I believe Robert Downey's first movie, I think, was a movie called Tough Enough.
oh wow, okay.
Oh, Tough Turf. Sorry, Tough Turf. Tough Turf.
Tough Turf, okay.
Actually had James Spader in it, which
Oh,
is really
no.
interesting because they did a lot of movies together in the 80s.
Oh wow. Oh, I had Ultron, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So again, another kind of Marvel connection. But yes, definitely. Yeah. So that's just it's crazy.
Cool.
So yeah, I just wanted to tell you that. It's called Back to School. Anybody that wants to see a very very typical 80s comedy, please watch that movie. It is hilarious. It's very funny. Ronnie Dangerfield actually goes back to school and goes to the school with his son. His son's friend is Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's incredible.
And Oingo Boingo is in the movie playing their hit, Dead Man's Party. All this knowledge is just flowing out of my head right now. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know where it's coming from. Just throwing it out there.
There you go.
Huge connection. See, it's all connected.
It's all there. It's all. How about this one? How about So actually, to piggyback, I'm gonna actually piggyback off the Rocky theme because I'll admit, you think of longtime sequels, and you think usually for a lot of movie series, movies get very tired out. And I remember we talked about this too with like movie series like Friday the 13th, where they just kind of keep throwing these sequels out. And
Friday the 13th 64 is the same concept every time. A bunch of kids going up to a camp. Okay, it's probably about, I don't know, 15, 16 of them. They go up to a camp, and 50, so there's 16 kids. 15 of them are going to get killed.
Yeah, right. Was that
you got one that survives and goes and tells somebody about the whole story, and then he brings up, he gets married, has a kid, and that kid brings up 16 friends, and it just keeps going. It's the same concept each time.
Yeah.
It just Friday the 13th number 64 just doesn't make any sense to me.
But you would think they would have found a way to deal with the threat, but no. He always has to keep coming back. And
absolutely not. They don't know how to deal with it. All they do is they go up and they fool around, they have sex and die. That's the concept. That's the concept right there, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's every single Friday the 13th movie is that concept.
Yeah.
Teenager going up to a camp. Hey, let's go up to the camp. Yeah, that's a good idea. Go up, they fool around, have sex, die. That's just it's concept throughout all the movies. I just think they need to change the concept just a little bit. So I don't know. I just kind of get tired of watching that after a while. The thing with the Rocky movies is totally different because you have the same theme. The theme is Rocky fights somebody. That's the same theme. But there's a story. There's a backstory. He has a kid. He's got a kid. Burgess Meredith, which, by the way, another Burgess Meredith was in the Rocky movie, right? Played his manager.
I know you're going with this.
His trainer, and he was also in what?
Batman 66, the Penguin. Yep.
There it is. So there's always some kind of backstory. There's always backstory. He has a kid. His wife has some pregnancy issues. Kid's born. The wife's in a coma. The wife comes out of a coma. There it is. Apollo Creed dies. He gets pissed off and decides to. There's always a different. The concept is pretty much the same.
Yeah, like the core
theme is the same. Yeah, the theme is the same, but the way they do it is different.
Yes.
You know when you watch a Friday the 13th Part 3, you know that there are going to be 15 kids that are going to die.
Yeah.
And they're going to die in different ways. Horrendous, terrible deaths. That's it.
Yeah,
they can't get past Jason. There's always a girl who's screaming and she gets in a boat. This is a perfect concept. Why is this a good thing? She gets in a boat and goes in the middle of Crystal Lake. Why would you do that? Why would you just the opposite?
This is like a river connected to it. Like, what the hell? Like, why would you? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, let's get in the boat and go to the middle of Why would you do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So not only, and again, I've seen the movies.
Yeah.
I've seen them. First of all, the kids are not smart. Okay? You have to pick 15, 16, 15 at least. 15 kids that are just dumb. That just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jason, they can't beat him. Every single movie is the same thing. These kids are just going to die. Don't you think after the second movie, the third set of 15, 16 kids would not decide to go to the lake? Not decide to go to this camp? Hey, let's go up to this camp thing and, have sex and then die. I mean, it's like, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, like.
I mean, common sense says, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Crystal Lake's bad.
People
have died there. Why go there? Oh, I forgot the drinking part. There's always drinking and drugs that's added to it, too. Yeah. So you always got to add that into it. But still, I mean, if you're smart, you're thinking, let's see what she did. We go to the movies tonight and see Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Or should we go up to Crystal Lake and see what's up there? That's a good idea. I mean, it just doesn't, logically, it just doesn't make sense.
Despite the fact that there were over 100 people murdered last week.
Yeah, exactly.
No big deal.
Exactly. Let's just go up there and see if we can get murdered too. I mean, it's just dumb. It's just, the concept I understand is just to kind of make movies.
Yeah.
And when you have a following, I think this is true too. And I'm going to ask you the same question, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a following, when you do the first movie and the first movie, like,
yeah.
No pun intended. It does super well. Everybody wants to go. It's out during, Friday the 13th and Halloween. We're always around Halloween time anyway because he got scared. So, it's just the way it is. And that's all good. I understand the concept of having that. Mm-mm. But the problem I have is that, and then there's a following. So I get the following. So you make another one. You make a sequel.
Yeah.
Don't you think you might want to change a little bit of the concept? Have a little bit of a backstory?
Yeah.
Nothing. There's no backstory. No. These 15 kids are going to die. That's it. They die. Jason kills them. We know it's Jason with the mask, with the old hockey mask. We know it's him. It's nobody else.
They always try to add some intrigue, like maybe it could be someone else. It's like, yeah, in a movie called Friday the 13th, who the hell else could it be?
Yeah, it's not Freddy Krueger. He's in the other movie. So there's no way. And the stupidest movie that came out was Freddy versus Jason.
Oh my God. That's more of a guilty pleasure movie. I'll admit.
That's one of those movies that you watch when you absolutely do not have a James Bond movie to watch. There's nothing on Epix. HBO, you didn't pay for that month, so they turned it off. Hulu is having internet issues. Netflix is off the air, and you have absolutely nothing else to watch. Disney is just horrendous.
Yep.
No, it really isn't. We have Disney too, so it's really not horrendous. You've watched everything on Disney, so this is the kind of movie that you watch. Another again, a guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah,
I just want to sit back and watch kids get killed. There we go. There it is. There it is. That's excellent.
But
again, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But at least with Rocky, at least with Back to the Future, at least with Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones is going to go to a faraway place, Egypt, wherever. He's going to find some treasure, the Holy Grail, the whatever. And you know that there's going to be people after him, mostly Nazis.
Yeah.
So there is some of the same theme, but you want to watch these movies. Mm-hmm. You want to watch them. So again, I wanted to ask you, what do you think? I mean, do you enjoy these concepts of having the same movie over and over and over again, or do you want to have at least some kind of, like Rocky, a different thing that's happening, but he's going to fight somebody in the end?
Yeah, no, I definitely like a movie series, especially a long-running movie series, can shake things up a bit. And that's actually what I kind of enjoy a little bit about the Fast and the Furious movies. I mean, granted, I haven't seen the most recent one, the ninth one, so I don't have any opinion on that movie. But so that's a movie series that started off like a streetcar. It was a street racing movie. That's really what it was. The first 3 movies were street racing movies. So what they did was they every movie kind of had a slightly different feel. They would change the actors around a bit. So it never really felt too much the same. But even, after the first 2 movies, they're like, all right, what else can we do with this franchise? We've done all the street racing we can. Let's add The Rock in there. And then they're like, let's have him throw a guy through a roof. And I'm like, damn, okay. So they kind of, it does get ridiculous. It does get over the top. But for some reason, the Fast and the Furious franchise, I still think has a lot of heart to it. They're still able to keep kind of that beating heart somehow, but they're able to kind of like change it up every movie and even kind of make it more over the top.
Huge following, like Kyle. Huge following, too.
Yeah.
They have a huge following.
And I think that's what it was. I think people like to see those movies because it's not just a street racing movie every movie. The earlier movies were street racing movies. And I'm sure some of the fans of the early movies were kind of upset when they kind of strayed a little bit, they strayed more and more away from that. But at the end of the day, it's a movie with fast cars and action. And it kind of, to me, it kind of took on sort of the James Bond thing where, they kind of like when you watch the Sean Connery movies, it was very grounded at first. Then you go to the Roger Moore movies and definitely gets a little more over the top, has a different feel to it as those movies goes on, but it keeps the audiences engaged. People want to see what happens next. And the Fast and Furious franchise kind of pulled that off. They're 9 movies in and people still watch those movies, which is like,
and the Bond movies are typically, there's a lot of action. I actually just watched, The Spy Who Loved Me last night. I taped it.
Oh,
it was on Epix. It's Roger.
Love that movie.
Roger Moore, man. Roger Moore. Love that movie too. I mean, I've seen it like many times, but I watched it last night because I actually forgot what it was about. But it is really a terrific concept. But again, with the Bond movies, it's the same exact thing. And by the way, again, some of my favorite movies are Bond movies. And again, the theme song.
Oh.
It's a Bond movie. Actually, my wife went to, she's part of the Melrose Symphony Orchestra. So she went to practice and she came back and.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. She's part of the Melrose Symphony Orchestra, the town orchestra for a long time. She plays violin.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry. I did sorry. Did breaking news, sorry.
Wow.
I tell you that. Yeah, sorry. The volunteer orchestra, been around for over 100 years in Melrose, Massachusetts. He's been doing this since probably the, late 80s. They awesome. If you can get to go to a show, please go to a show because they got a great conductor and stuff like that. Anyway, she came into the kitchen, and before she came into the living room, she heard some music, and I was watching it, and she said, "Is that James Bond?" So all of a sudden, she's hearing theme music that sounds like Bond.
Yeah.
So a lot of the same concept because people like to hear that. So if you hear, that kind of Bond theme, and the Bond theme is totally different than the Rocket theme, but if you hear the Bond theme, you're going to know that it's a Bond film. I was like, oh, you're right. I'm watching. I didn't tell her what it was. I said, you guess. Roger Moore. But she it was very funny. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, James Bond is always going to get himself into a little trouble.
Yeah.
And in some cases, he's going to get kidnapped. He needs to get out of a room, a box, a submarine, something. He needs to save somebody. He needs to, it's the same kind of theme, but there's so much action that you want to know how he's going to get out of this every single time.
You're right.
That's the attraction.
Yeah, it's the same basic structure for how they tell the story.
Right.
But the thing is, you can move a lot of variables around. You can switch it up. There's enough new in that structure that you can kind of switch around each movie that you're right. It keeps people engaged. Who's the next Bond girl going to be? Who's the next villain going to be? And you're right. Like you said, what are the gadgets he's going to use in the movie? And it really it does keep things fresh in that sense. And yeah, I think out of I don't think I've ever really seen a bad Bond movie. And some of my favorite movies too is when they really, really shake it up. Like when I look at the movie, I think two of my favorite movies I think that I've seen. Also, they take that formula and they kind of they sort of do what Loki kind of did, and they're like, oh, you think it's going to go this way, but they really subvert your expectations. And I'll start with a George Lazenby movie, Under Majesty's Secret Service. Have you ever seen that one? Yeah, and you'll know what I'm talking about, especially how it ends. It does not it does not end like any other Bond movie you have ever seen. Like when you watch the ending, you will be floored. That's how crazy that ending is. I get choked up every time I see that ending, and I'm without spoiling anything, you'll know why. You're just your jaw hits the floor, and then the credits roll, and you're like, oh my god, that happened.
Big time.
And same with Casino Royale. I love that movie too, because that movie, it really shook it up too, because they were like, all right, well, we've done the Bond movie franchise for a while, and we have a new actor, kind of a new tone too. So they actually really went with that. And with Daniel Craig, especially for his first movie, he did a phenomenal job, and it was just, you're right, it was great. And then of course, what I loved about that movie too is they actually kind of they had a great score. David Arnold. So sorry, a quick score history here for Bond. John Barry was the guy who originally scored. He scored most of the movies, most of the Bond movies. They did switch up once in a while, especially with Live and Let Die. Do you know who scored Live and Let Die, by the way?
I wish I can't.
All right.
I know, but I can't.
So I'll give you a hint. I think you'll be able to figure this out just by these hints I'm going to give you. So you remember who sung the theme song for Live and Let Die?
I know who sung the theme song for The Spy Who Loved Me that I saw last night.
Oh yeah, yep, Carly Simon.
That was Carly Simon. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yes, you got that.
No, you have to know "Live and Let Die." That's like one of the most famous Bond songs. You hear it on the radio nowadays, and even other movies play it too, which is pretty cool.
Wait. Let me think.
Yeah.
Let me think. Hmm. I'm thinking. Is that, let that
Yeah.
was that from the early 70s?
Yes.
I don't know. I can't remember.
It was Paul McCartney and the Wings. So
Yeah, it is.
what was really great about that movie too, that particular score was Paul McCartney saying the theme song, and you'll never guess who did the score of the movie, which I have a vinyl of. I had to get the vinyl because I love it that much.
Oh, you did the score? I'm cheating. I'm actually looking it up.
Oh,
Doing so.
there you go.
I'm cheating. I'm cheating. Yeah, it
All
was
right.
this was 1973,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
It did have Roger Moore in it and James Seymour.
Yep.
I just
It
saw
was.
this recently too.
Yeah, it was actually Roger Moore's
I
first
taped.
movie.
Oh, gotta tell people. I'm sorry. Sidebar. Breaking news.
Uh huh.
Epix. Epix is having a James Bond marathon this weekend.
Oh, good. I
I
love
had to figure out which ones I have, which ones I don't have, and tape the ones I don't have.
it.
I don't know. I don't know who did the score.
Okay.
I don't know.
So think of Paul McCartney, right?
Yeah,
And think of, obviously we all know that he was in the Beatles. Who produced the Beatles?
that's a great question. Was it? Let's see. It could be Jason. It could be Freddie. Could be the guy from Mike Myers from Halloween.
Maybe all the famous movie serial killers.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
Should we have that be our our question of the show? So
Yes,
we can figure that out.
absolutely.
So because that's the interesting thing. So for that particular movie, it was just for that movie that he did. Um, we gave you a lot of hints. So yes, Paul McCartney did the theme song, but you have to think really hard. Who produced the Beatles? So famous Beatles producer. See if you guys can figure that out. That's the big hint for the question. Who scored "Live and Let Die"? Famous Beatles producer. If you can figure that out, then bam, you get the double thumbs up from me. So,
That's right.
um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, so it was great. Like, oh yeah, so going back to Casino Royale. So as we know, we know John Barry did most of the older movies, and then David Arnold actually took over. He took over when Pierce Brosnan was Bond, and then he actually even did some of the Craig movies. And what I liked about it was David Arnold had a really cool modern version of the Bond theme, but they saved it till the very end of the movie, which I thought was neat. Bond did his cool moment, and you found out
You always have the cool moment.
Yeah, it was great. He was there in the tuxedo, in the classic Bond suit. He goes, "The name's Bond, James Bond," and they just like blare out the theme, and the credits roll, and you're like.
You know when he asked for when he asked for a martini and he asked for it shaken, not stirred.
Oh yeah.
Do you know he's actually being snooty?
Oh yeah. Right.
He's totally being snooty about that.
Yeah.
That is a snooty way of having a martini. Because typically a martini is shaken,
Oh,
not stirred.
that's it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's and they joke about it in other movies too. But the bad guy sometimes jokes about it. You want to have a martini, and it's like this little joke.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think it's really funny. But the Bond movies are just they're just in a different like category in their own as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You
Honestly,
could watch a Bond movie anytime. You could watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning. You could watch it 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah,
It's just one of those kinds of things.
it's great. And yes, if you're asking about it, we will have a separate Bond episode. We need to just vent out all our Bond.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. By the way, Daniel Craig just finished his the last one. This is number 5. He just finished his Bond. I saw him on a this Bond movie that's coming up, that's coming out. I think next week, after, I think something like that, next week.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, this is the last one he's doing. So they asked him if he would do, if he would say on James Bond. He says, you know what? I don't actually think I do it as well as the other ones do it, and I'm just done with this. So I'm not doing that. I just thought it was so funny how he said that. It was just awesome. Yeah, it was just awesome how he was like, I'm just done. I've done 5 movies. I'm moving on to doing something different. But no, I just think he was very, very good. Skyfall probably being,
oof.
Yeah, that was just
So
action packed. Talk about action. I was like, is the action ever going to stop? I just thought it was phenomenal. He was really, really good.
Oh yeah, loved it.
I'm still trying to figure out who my favorite is, and you know what? I'm gonna watch a lot of Bond this weekend, and I'm gonna make. That's what we should do. We can order them.
Oh,
we can make them in order of the best that we think, best Bond, not the worst Bond because there's no worst Bond, but
yeah,
the best to the number them 1 through 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And that's what we should do.
Yeah, love it.
Great concept. So you already figured out some of the shows that are coming down the road already. So that we're gonna talk about. But
we like to multitask,
Oh yeah, definitely. No, it totally makes sense. But
yeah.
So definitely. Do you have any others that you can think of? I mean, I know you talked about a lot, but I didn't know whether you were. I know we had some sidebars talking about the 15 kids getting killed in the campsite.
No, that's okay. I did want to actually really quick kind of go back to when we were talking about Rocky. So I did want to kind of just highlight really quick just two more composers I really like. So one was, his name is Ludwig Göransson. I think I pronounced that name right. I apologize if I didn't. He did the score to the Creed movies, and as you know, Creed, it's kind of like a semi-new series that kind of adds more to the existing Rocky series, and I actually really enjoyed those movies. I think those movies were great. They were better than they had any right to be. You'd think that the series would be tired out, but I loved them.
I will tell you, I have not seen them.
Oh, I think you should definitely.
I actually just started watching the last actual Rocky movie. I haven't finished it yet. Okay. This is where Rocky.
Balboa.
Rocky, yeah, Balboa, yeah. This is where Rocky actually starts. Adrian has passed away, and I shouldn't say too much. But if you haven't seen it by now, people, you need to go see it. But again, this kind of like a little bit of a love interest going on. It was his son's friend, which is who owns the bar or something like that. So it's a little weird, or I should say a lot weird. But yeah, no, I haven't seen that series. I was wondering whether it was good enough.
It is phenomenal. I was, at first I was a little hesitant because I was thinking, okay, I think the Rocky series is tired out. I think, they ended on the 6th one. That's where they should have stopped. And then I saw the Creed movies, and I loved them because they're taking the franchise in kind of a new perspective, and you get to actually the franchise, they continue the franchise with, this time, instead of Rocky being the main character like he was in the other 6 movies, it's actually
is it Apollo Creed's
son? Yeah. And I like that angle. I thought that was cool, and you really saw things from his perspective. And those movies had their own feel to them, but you could still tell they were in the Rocky franchise. They were able to really strike that good balance. And Sly Stallone, I think, has some of his best performances in those movies. It was phenomenal. I love seeing him as kind of the coach, the boxing coach this time around, kind of more of like the father figure, because as we know, the son Adonis Creed never knew his father because his father got killed off in the 4th movie. So he never actually knew his father, and so I like how kind of how Rocky was able to step in, kind of as that sort of
Be a
mentor.
father figure almost. Yeah,
Yeah, and it added a really
pretty
interesting
good
layer.
concept. I just haven't seen the movies yet.
Oh yeah, they're great. And wait till you see this the second one too, especially if you like, because they actually carry concepts over from the franchise. Like they do reference the other Rocky movies, believe it or not. Especially the second one, the second Creed movie, um, is it's kind of in a way it's kind of the official, to me it's like the official sequel to Rocky 4. That's all I'm gonna say.
Really?
Yes,
Wow, then I'm gonna have to see that.
they bring like they bring like the focus of that movie is mainly elements actually from the fourth one, and you'll see why. Like, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very
Because
interesting.
yeah, the fourth one is when Paul Creed dies. So
Yes.
yeah, it's an exhibition, and he's against the Russian, and the Russian goes too far.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of that stuff carries over to that movie, which is very like, you're like, whoa, it's so cool the way they actually were able to follow up with that. And I loved, the score to those movies. The score by this guy Ludwig Goransson. He just did a phenomenal theme, and he didn't just come back and redo the Rocky theme. He made his own theme for the Creed movies, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. He had kind of in certain areas, he had this kind of like hip hop vibe, which I thought was cool personally. And it's a great score. It really kind of like, it gets you pumped when you're watching like the fight scenes too. So it's, I really love that. And also Hans Zimmer, kind of going on another sort of direction of movies. Hans Zimmer did some great themes for movies like Inception, a lot of the Christopher Nolan movies. His Batman theme, he even had his own Batman theme and Superman theme. Like he did the modern Batman Superman themes, and they were great. I loved them. They were very different from the John Williams and the Danny Elfman versions, but they were great in their own way. They had this very modern feel, and especially the Man of Steel soundtrack. If you like, give that a listen. That is one of the most epic soundtracks I've heard to this day. It's just,
wow.
It's a phenomenal soundtrack. You feel so inspired when you hear that music. That's what I love about it. And it is very different from the John Williams music. Like I said, it's not. It's just got a different feel. They really try to modernize it, and I think it works. I think it might be my favorite superhero soundtrack.
And that's by Hans Zimmer, right?
Hans Zimmer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, yeah, Man of Steel soundtrack.
I just looked it up on Spotify. It's on Spotify, people.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Listen to all of it. Yep.
The album is on Spotify.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's great. So, yeah, just an example. So, were there any ones that you wanted to go over really quick too, or?
I think I mentioned, some of my, just a few of my favorites, and what I think the concept that you just said before is so true, is that movies that were made in the 60s, the Bond theme has always been that theme throughout, even if it's a modern version.
Yeah.
They always seem to get somebody to change their song, like Carly Simon did.
Yeah.
To change their song and put the name of the movie in the song. They always seem to get somebody to sing in that capacity. But I think, and this is maybe a concept that people can maybe think about, if you've watched any of the Bond films from the 60s, different theme music. The theme music is not a lot of words attached to it. It's a lot of, like, maybe some John Williams and some, and then again, 70s and 80s, same thing. Not a lot of, not except Oingo Boingo, but not a lot of, not a lot of the, not a lot of actual words that were said. More classical kind of put together kind of movies. And then you have the 80s, and then you have the 90s, and then 2000s, and now, where you have more modern attachments. You still have watch a Daniel Craig movie. You still have the Bond theme, right?
Yeah.
But it's totally, it sounds like the Bond theme, but it might be souped up a little bit.
Yeah.
every single era, every single decade has made different music from that decade.
Mm-hmm.
And they've kind of kept the theme, but the theme, again, just like you said before, the theme may be different because, oh, yeah, they add a little hip hop version to it. They
Yeah.
add a little bit more hip hop to it because, again, Creed just came out not too long ago. So it makes sense that hip hop would be a part of it. So again, I think that what they've done is that they've taken a theme, an original theme,
Yeah.
and they've kind of morphed it into whatever era that they happen to be in.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. And again, this is why we're talking about themes, is because music is part of movies.
Oh yeah. Very important part.
And they, I think they've done the right thing by making music adapt to what era that you're in. I think they've done that. I think a lot of these guys, Bill Conti and even John Williams, has had to adapt a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, just like you said, Hans Zimmer. I'm going to listen to this stuff after we stop recording and stuff like that. I'm going to listen to this and see what it's like. Again, had to adapt to the era, because you're not gonna play hip hop in certain movies in the '90s. And some of that stuff you're not gonna play in the '80s either. I mean, there was a little bit of hip hop toward the late mid to late '80s, but it wasn't called hip hop back then.
Yeah.
Called rap back then, so it was different. Okay, so it's totally different. So again, I think that music has morphed. I think that's what I'm trying to say is theme music for movies has morphed depending on what era you're listening in.
Yeah.
What you're listening. You see a Daniel Craig Bond movie, the music is going to sound similar, but it's going to be totally different than the one I saw yesterday, last night. And or your favorite Live and Let Die from 1973, it's going to be totally different. It's got same concept music, just in a different, they just put it together and did it.
Yeah. No, totally. No, you're right. I totally agree. And it's interesting, you're right, like you said, how you got these classic movies, and how, especially when those movies, you have those long standing movie series, whether you keep those movie series going or even you reboot them. And it's interesting to see a lot of directors, they decide, and directors I should say composers, they decide, okay, are we gonna keep the same theme song? Are we or are we gonna like Hans Zimmer? Whenever he stepped in, he never did the Superman theme, the one John Williams did. He did completely his own theme. Same thing with Batman. So I kind of like seeing those different perspectives. Some people, you're right, like you said, when Daniel Craig, they kept the same Bond theme. It's the same song essentially, same notes and everything. Just, you're right, they souped it up. They were able to kind of modernize it. Versus like Man of Steel, it sounds nothing like the John Williams theme, and that's okay because it's a different version of Superman. And I always like to, it's interesting to see how movies kind of tackle that, like whether they should keep the old theme and either keep it the way it is or update it, or if they should just make a new theme altogether. So yeah, it's really interesting, like, because movies have gone in all those directions, and it's really nice to see them develop like that. So
yeah, I definitely like the Bond concept, where the concept is the same, the theme concept is the same, they just modify it depending on what era you're watching it in.
Exactly. And it really varies from series to series, but you're right, Bond, I think that's one of those series where I think it would be a huge mistake if they changed the theme song for specifically Bond. Like Absolutely. For Superman and Batman, I think that's fine because there's so many different versions of those characters. And especially even in the comic books, there's like, you got more serious versions, you got more lighthearted versions. So yeah, okay, right. It's okay to change the theme song. It's okay to have new theme songs for those. But for Bond, it's James Bond, it's that you can't really change this theme song. You can, You're right, you can modify it, you can make some altercations here and there, but you can't change it. You can't give a new one.
So, exactly. I agree.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I think it's about time to wrap it up now.
Yeah.
But if you guys in the comments want to talk about any theme songs or movie scores that you really like, old or new, or one you maybe just saw in the present, just um, yeah, just drop us a comment there.
Yeah, comment on us too. We want to know how we're doing. That's how we make things better here. So we want to know. We want you to comment on how we're doing, and if you have any things that you want us to talk about, we want to hear those too.
Yep, we're all ears. So we love taking in suggestions, and we really want to make the episodes, I mean, as fun for us as it is fun for you to watch. So yeah, we want to thank you guys so much for watching this. And this is Doug up here, and sorry, on your screen you're like literally on top of, like, I'm down here, you're on top of there. So that's
I'm on top of you. Okay, well, that's a new concept. Excellent. Let's just throw that right in there.
Stop,
well, when I'm looking at you, you're beside me. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, however Zoom goes for you, dude. We'll have to ask Zoomy about that later.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, just remember, guys, we're obviously on YouTube. I also put my stuff on Facebook too. So those are the kind of the two mediums that we're on right now. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for listening again. And
remember to hit the bell. Sub in. We need more subs. Yes, I'm not talking about Jersey Mike's either.
I mean, I'm okay for getting more of those subs as well, but I mean,
yeah, those subs definitely. If you want to send us a coupon to Jersey Mike's, we're good with that. But we're talking about subscribe and hit that bell.
And thank you guys again, and we hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we will catch you on the next episode of Marvel the Movies. Yeah,
absolutely. See ya.